Hello and welcome to the first of our CCA with the Ulster University Lunchtime Research Talk. Every Wednesday in February, you can tune into a different talk over lunch with CCA and the Ulster University. And across the month, different PhD researchers from UU will be presenting their research via Zoom in our bite-sized talks, followed by the opportunity for you to ask a question. The aim of these short lunchtime talks is to share with the wider world just some of the research that's taking place at Ulster University, with the pilot month including topics ranging from wool to the sublime. So the talks are taking place from 1:15 now, and they'll last no more than 30 minutes. So we've got around 15 to 20 minutes of talk and then time for questions. Need to say some thank yous. Thank you to the team at Ulster University, Justin, Catherine, Brian, and others, to our funders, Arts Council of Northern Ireland and Derry City and Strabane District Council, and to Garfield Weston Foundation. And I have some housekeeping. Please mute. Please put your questions in the chat. We are recording, not the Q&A, and enjoy. So, the upcoming programme we have is today, Jayne Harkness with the idiosyncrasies of wool and how developments in agriculture can support its use in yarns and fabrics for textiles and composites. On the 11th of February, we have Katie McFadden with Imagined Islands, Envisioning Beyond the Anthropocene Through Moving Image Practice. On the 18th of February, Vasiliki Stasinaki will be talking about Little Stories from Forgotten Geographies, the Islands of the Aegean Sea as spaces of counter-narratives and resistance. On the 25th of February, we finish our pilot month with Dara O'Shea with The Withdrawn Sublime. Can a landscape that is inaccessible to direct experience be truly sublime? And now to introduce today's speaker. So, Jayne Harkness writes of her practice, all wool is not the same. So, how can developments in agriculture enhance its use in yarns and fabrics for textiles and composites? From her professional and personal experience within the wool industry, she has observed that the UK and Irish wool is considered as one unique fibre. But please allow her to explain. As a seventh generation sheep farmer and PhD researcher, liverman of the Worshipful Company of Woolmen and the freeman of the City of London, you could say she wears many hats and all of them are wool. So delighted to hand over to Jayne, and I'm going to disappear, but I will be monitoring the chat and I'll come back to you later. Go ahead, Jayne.
Thank you, Catherine. Yeah, so good afternoon, everyone. I'd like to start by thanking CCA and Ulster University for the opportunity to share with you my PhD research journey that I only officially started back in September last year. When you see the next few slides, it'll become apparent that I've been researching this topic throughout my whole life, which brings many strengths and weaknesses, but lots of experience into the world of now being a PhD researcher. I hope you find it not too boring. I'm not entirely sure on the demographics of today's audience. Hopefully we'll have some fellow researchers listening in, but for those of you that are thinking about looking into a PhD and you're not sure what to make of it all, I hope that my story helps to give you the confidence to just go for it. So, as Catherine was saying, I am a seventh generation sheep farmer, and sheep and wool have always been a part of my life. My dad was a contract sheep shearer, and you can see him working in the yellow vest there. He travelled the world, shearing season after season. So when he was at home, I wanted to be nowhere else but with him. That meant the farm and working with sheep. So after Dad had been away for months on end, shearing in Australia or further afield, as soon as he came home and started shearing locally, I was by his side. I went around the local farms with him, gathering the wool. I didn't know it then, but those moments were laying foundations. From a little nipper lifting the wool to then representing Northern Ireland at 8 Golden Shearers World Championships, saying it's been a wild journey is an understatement. I actually gracefully turned down the 9th opportunity as it's in a few weeks' time. And I've already been to New Zealand twice, so I thought I'd prioritise my time with my dad on the farm, as lambing is also due to start in a few weeks' time. Plus, I am now full-time back at uni. With so much of my life revolving around wool, I quickly became involved with wool handling training courses, both for competitors and training judges. And you might think that all sounds a bit weird and a bit strange, but the harvesting of wool at the time of shearing can have a massive impact on potential returns for wool value and usability. But that's a presentation for another day. So the journey that led me to a PhD on wool
This is
is
so
paved
good.
by my experiences within the wool industry. I'm continually told I don't give an accurate representation of myself, and as cringe-worthy as this is for me, here goes nothing. So I've received awards and titles I never thought possible, and if I'm honest, completely overwhelming at times. An award for recognition to services to shearing from the British Isles Shearing Competitions Association, Associateship of the Council of Awards for the Royal Agricultural Societies. As Catherine said, I've been admitted as a freeman of the City of London and then formally closed into the livery of the Worshipful Company of Woolmen. And basically that means I have the ancient right to walk sheep over London Bridge. I also sit in the council for the Royal Ulster Agricultural Society and their sheep shearing committee within. I'm a member of Ag Research's Sheep Advisory Committee and past member of the Irish Growing Wool Council, carrying out specific work as part of the wool quality and presentation subgroup. Other key successful milestones of innovation and developments have been establishing a wool handling development test at Balmoral Show, an industry first, which was a wool handling training day where competitors, shearers, and judges all simultaneously and specifically train for competitive wool handling. It's a bit different than on-farm practices. The development of wool innovators, where STEM and wool come together in primary schools across Northern Ireland with plans for it to go UK-wide in the future. The Caffrey Wool Scholarship, and where a student completes a 12-week research project on the topic of wool within higher education. The Rathlin Wool Project as part of Future Island here at UU, and 8 years of working within the wool industry as a British wool depot manager at their Ulster wool site have all been instrumental in leading me to undertake this PhD. So now that all the cringeworthy and embarrassing stuff's over, let's crack on with the actual research. So, all wool is not the same. And how can developments in agriculture enhance its use in yarns and fabrics for textiles and composites? From my professional and personal experience within the wool industry, I have observed that UK and Irish wool is considered as one unique fibre, but please allow me to explain. As bizarre as this request may seem, think of wool as chocolate. There are so many different flavours, textures, brands, uses, of which are specific to consumer tastes and needs. Wool has so many different parts to it before it's even harvested, never mind after, a bit like chocolate. So now that I've finally got your attention, it gives me great pleasure to take you on a brief but fascinating journey on how research into the idiosyncratic nature of wool is only just beginning. There are 3 pillars to this research project. Pillar 1, the idiosyncratic nature, availability and supply chain of UK and Irish grown wool. Pillar 2, the different uses and applications of these wool types across different sectors and industries. And Pillar 3, the cultural and commercial changes regarding the profile of UK and Irish grown wool, including legislation, branding and marketing from the 1950s to the present day. All 3 will have an overarching focus on how research into wool can assess its economic potential. The timeline of UK and Irish grown wool from 1950 to the present day has significant areas of interest to me. The responsible wool standard and what it represents throughout the wool supply chain, digital product passports of wool in collaboration with the Circular Bioeconomy Roundtable developments, proof of environmental footprint, which is otherwise known as PEF legislation of wool versus its synthetic competitors, and end user responsibility. Can environmental benefits be quantified to enhance roadmaps for the use of wool? These pillars will be researched through the following objectives. How sheep genetics, environmental factors such as did the farmer lamb indoors or outdoors, the health of the animal, how many lambs did she have, her nutrition, and the soil health that grows the very grass that they eat all play a crucial role in growing wool before it's even been shorn from the animal. By collaborating with current research carried out by the Wool Testing Authority Europe, examine different wool qualities and their potential applications through pioneering new technology, also in collaboration with Woven Optics, which is the first ever handheld micron tester to be used on farm. It was actually developed in Australia and it's just coming to the UK now. So examining what has changed regarding the social profile of wool from the 1950s to the present day, and what role traceability and provenance play in shaping its future. So where did that wool come from? Assessing current policy around natural sustainable fibres and what needs to change to ensure wool has a future. There are current hard barriers that appear to be suffocating collaborative opportunities and red tape. And by this, I mean the Category 3 not fit for human consumption label that was imposed on the fibre during foot and mouth back in 2001. Last time I checked, wool wasn't a side dish on the menu, but I respect why it was imposed to protect animal health. I just want to explore other more suitable labels that would promote the fibre rather than label it as a waste product. This research will generate data on UK and Irish grown wool within the context of an innovation world to build a roadmap of operational recommendations to develop toolkits for one, primary wool producers, i.e. our farmers, and how they grow and harvest wool, and two, textile designers and manufacturing blueprints on wool selection for specific products, traceability, provenance, and environmental responsibility. These two connected but different worlds don't appear to lack any clear transference or counter-transference in relation to each other. So in building a clear yet academic roadmap, the project will be disseminated with the aim of giving wool a voice from a grassroots level up. Methodologies will include, obviously, a literature review of wool's growing, harvesting, and selection in product design, processing, and manufacturing. Comparative analysis of individual wool sample qualities of UK and Irish grown wool and their suitability in specific products, which I'll elaborate on the next slide. Interviews within the wool supply chain with farmers, textile manufacturers, and material scientists to provide industry insights on their understanding on the wool that they grow, manufacture, and test. Design thinking will develop toolkits and roadmaps on the UK and Irish grown wool supply chain. Laboratory testing will assess wool's physical and chemical properties for appropriate use in textile and composite applications while maintaining maximised return to primary producers. Case studies of different farm businesses, their stratospheres, how they impact wool growth and quality, alongside object biographies to have a focused lens on how specifically and scientifically sporadic, yet culturally and historically significant wool's life cycle is. Archival investigation into wool's historical profile within businesses, research and governmental documentation from the 1950s to the present date. Data synthesis will generate a profile of genetic selection for wool quality. A strong foundation of research methodologies will assist in building a critical chain project management supply chain toolkit. And finally, after all that, a practice-based element will develop over the duration of the project with installations of work that contribute to the overall research question. Drawing on influence from Northern Ireland's fashion designer Hope Macaulay, who makes the chunky knit, hand knit pieces alongside the fibre in its raw, beautiful state. So work has already begun with individual samples being taken from the 2025 Rathlin clip under the Future Island project as one of the case studies. So every single fleece from the island has been graded by Ulster Wool's qualified graders, and a small sample taken to be tested for micron and staple qualities to discuss with brands and manufacturers rate suitability for specific products, highlighting that one breed can have many different qualities that depict yarn strength, colour and usability. I have a vision of these samples becoming part of an installation to complement the research. Another case study is identifying suitable wool to develop as a biocomposite material as mulch within the agroforestry sector, examining how it acts as a catalyst for soil health, which I hope will generate data and developments in agriculture regarding carbon benchmarking on farm as an expected outcome. I have recently made positive connections at the Oxford Farming Conference with material scientists and professors of practice on this research topic and plan to link in with the already existing rooftop garden here at the Belfast campus at the university. Lastly, literature appears to suggest two starting points when it comes to using wool as a natural resource. So one, using wool in a generic, scoured, clean form with no specific detail on grade or type. And two, the use of superfine merino types, which can't be commercially grown here in the UK and Ireland due to the climate. Basically, it rains too much here, and I think the news today was that January has been the wettest on record for 150 years. So with this in mind, a third and final case study on a focus flock will examine genetics to produce a finer micron wool within a UK farm system. This links with the Fabulous Fibre project, where New Zealand genetics have been introduced to reduce micron count. So the lower the micron is, the better it is for that fibre to be against the skin. So like in your jumpers and stuff like that. And the higher the micron, the coarser the wool is. So that will go into carpets, rugs, and textiles. Sheep Ireland have a sheep index, which I've already started conversations through the Northern Ireland Sheep Advisory Committee at Ag Research to include wool as a trait. So watch this space. We'll see what happens there. A fan of pen and a large piece of paper, you'll see the whiteboard that sits by my desk as a constant reminder of what I'm researching. I have many questions to explore. How can technology improve grading and sorting at the time of shearing and before processing? How can industry better support farmers to grow and harvest the fibre that is worth something? How can I help farmers not to store their wool for years in a shed as it'll only rot down as it's a natural biodegradable product? How can I get consumers to think differently about the choices they make when buying clothes, bedding and textiles? And what options are there for a scouring facility on the island of Ireland, as the two biggest scouring plants remaining in Western Europe are both based in Bradford, a mile apart from each other? So that means that any large-scale scouring of wool from this island has to go on a boat as greasy, raw wool and come back clean. I only have until September 2028, so I'll never answer all of these questions, but I'll have great fun with my three supervisors working out what's practically possible in the time available while actually answering the question. There are many idiosyncrasies of wool that are all part of the bigger picture and how it's grown, harvested, and utilised. And finding the golden thread that joins it all together will be a privilege to undertake in this research project and beyond. Ethics are at the heart of all research, so I must at all times adhere to the university's data protection policy to ensure best practice regarding GDPR, data capture, and storage. I must be mindful of the importance of appropriate sheep husbandry within a sheep farm business system, specifically during the wool harvesting process at shearing time to ensure the welfare of the animal is a priority at all times. Best practice during case studies with human subjects, including scientists, ensuring appropriate consent is obtained. And having worked within the industry for a number of years, coupled with a lifetime of being a sheep farmer, researcher unconscious bias will be continually reviewed throughout by utilising external critical constructive feedback from other researchers and external professionals. It's important as a researcher to be aware of what your training needs are. At Ulster University, they have designed and developed the Researcher Development Programme, which facilitates events and workshops to define skills that contribute to my skills as a researcher. So I need to discuss with my supervisors if a systematic review is necessary to enhance results from comparative analysis, laboratory testing, and data synthesis to strengthen rigour and validity of results. I need training on archival researching and object biography methods. I need guidance on publishing peer-reviewed papers. I literally have a list of stuff that I need to get out to the world. And I wanted some support on diagram generation apps because there's nothing I hate more than just asking AI, make me this and make me that. I want to get into the nitty-gritty of what it is that I'm trying to say because I like to illustrate things as I'm a visual thinker. So when you're a researcher, it's a good idea to attend conferences and events because you need to network. So I've attended 2 of the 4 BioDirect Roundtable events. I find myself constantly reminding people how amazingly versatile but technically complicated this fibre is. As previously mentioned, I had the privilege of attending the Oxford farming conference a few weeks ago, as I was the successful recipient of a fully funded bursary by the NFU. So what I'm saying here is you need to apply for things if you want to get. There's no harm in asking. The aim was to suss it out because I wanted to apply as an inspiring innovator for the 2027 conference to present my research. But what I got from this experience was much, much more. The level and intensity of networking was second to none. I've never been at anything like it before. I met so many people and came away with so many business cards. It was insane but wonderful. But how do I challenge social norms to get people and industry to think differently about will? And just before questions, I'd like to draw your attention to the fact that wool has been used in insulation from the beginning of time. If I had a penny for every time I have heard this, I could have retired 7 years ago. So please don't suggest it in the questions after, or you will be summoned with a fine. So I leave you with this thought. As you tuck yourself into bed tonight with a big mug of tea and a nice bar of your favorite chocolate, think to yourself, what am I sleeping in? What is my duvet and pillow made from? Is it wool? And where did it come from? I'll leave you with a little brand that I'm working on and my contact details. If anyone wants to reach out after this, feel free. Would love to have a conversation.
Fantastic. Thank you so much. I definitely know more about wool now than I did 20 minutes ago. So I'm going to stop recording and let's go to a few minutes of questions.